All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today is going to be a demo walking you through the agent workflow here within SkySlope. Everything we do today is going to pertain to your role here as an agent. Now, for those of you that attended last week's meeting, you obviously know that there's a lot that we cover in these trainings. The one thing that I would like to go ahead and leave you with is just to always feel the support of our support team. You can contact them 3 different ways. If you prefer to pick up the phone, you can expect them to answer by the second ring. If you prefer more of an instant chat, you can expect a response to that within 10 seconds. And then lastly, we do offer an email component. This is great. Maybe you have a list of questions, some screenshots, anything that you want to reference within that email, and you can expect a response to that within 20 minutes. Now, those 3 steps here as an agent are going to be as follows. Step 1, we're going to navigate on over to SkySlope Forms. This is where you will be sending out association forms as well as broker-specific forms. And then step 2, we're going to go ahead and use our integrated digital signature tool. This is called DigiSign. In step 3, once we get those forms completed, we're then going to turn that into a property file. Now let's go ahead and navigate on over to our SkySlope account.
So Dr. Goodman, give it to me in a nutshell. Well, the premise.
And let me go ahead and mute everybody.
Please, thank you, because I can hear everybody talking.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Indeed, yes, in this case, the measles virus, which has been engineered at genetic level to be helpful rather than harmful. And I find the best way to describe it is if you can imagine people use a high.
There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. So this is the main page that you're brought to each and every time that you log into SkySlope. This is what we call SkySlope Suite. Here we are obviously in my demo. So in the upper left-hand corner, you will see the SkySlope logo. This will be replaced by your brokerage's logo, and that logo acts as a home button. So anywhere you are within SkySlope Suite, all you need to do is select on this icon here, and it will revert you right back on over to this main page. Now below that is going to be a toolbar item where you can go ahead and see these hyperlinks. These will take you to any active files within your account here, such as closing, active, pending, closed. You could quickly hop on in here. Now, as I mentioned, we rave about our support team here. And in addition to being able to contact them those 3 different ways, you can also access our help page at any time. So here you're going to see the help icon, and you can select on that where it will lead you right on over to our support page. On our support page, you have all of the resources that you need to really become familiar with everything that SkySlope has to offer. So you'll see as I start scrolling down, we could type in just the keyword agent and all of these different articles come up. You can also review popular topics as well as browsing by product. And these will allow for you to have video resources as well as step-by-step processes. So really made for all learning types. And then if you do want to take advantage of communicating with our support team via chat, you would find that on our support page, and it would be down here in the right-hand corner. Once you enter in that information here, you'll just go ahead and select start chat, and you'll get that response there within 10 seconds. Now, navigating back on over to SkySlope Suite. Again, this is the page that you're brought to each and every time that you log into your account. Now, when you're ready to officially start creating a file, you will always begin on our SkySlope Form side. So again, we are on our SkySlope Suite side, but any file creation is going to begin by selecting the apps icon. That first option in the dropdown will be Forms, and it will lead us right on over to our SkySlope Forms. Now, I want you to think of SkySlope Forms as replacing all of the different association platforms that you might currently be logging into, and navigating on over to SkySlope Forms is going to help integrate all of those association forms into your account. Now, the first time that you log into SkySlope Forms, it will ask for you to set up your information. And the first step is going to be to go over to user profile. Now, the more information that you input into the personal as well as the professional information, the more information that's going to automatically populate when you're utilizing the brokerage forms as well as the association forms. The one thing that I'd like to emphasize on is always make sure you detail out your regions that you serve within. So if you're serving within multiple different regions, just make sure that you detail those out here. It will just help ensure that you have visibility to the forms that you should have visibility to. And then of course, any edits, always just make sure that you select save. That way it's saved and ready to populate into those forms. And then the next setup is going to be on the libraries section. So this is where you're going to be able to search. You'll see I have Michigan already connected down here, but let's say this was my first time searching for Michigan. You would just type that in here and then select add. Now, doing that will then ask for you to confirm you are in fact affiliated by entering in your last name and then the NERDS number. Once you confirm that, it will then land underneath the connected association libraries that you see here. But any questions on setup? It looks like Amanda just answered Jack's question. So any other questions before we start our walkthrough? All right, then. So as I mentioned, your first step when creating a file is always going to begin on SkySlope forms. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through and create our first forms file. Who is your client? This is going to be who you are representing. So we're going to select seller for this demo. We'll enter in our client's name. And then is there a property yet? So I already have my property. I'm going to go ahead and input that in here. And then how would you like to name this file? So when you go over to SkySlope Forms, this is how you're going to reference and locate this file. Personal preference of mine, I do like to go ahead and keep it on the property address, but just know that you can always toggle that on over to primary client, or you can customize this as well. Now, the last step is starting with a template. You can go in and you can create your own personal templates, allowing for you to be a little bit more proactive, have those documents already readily available within those templates to quickly attach to a file. And then your admin team, your managers have also gone in and created brokerage templates that they want readily available in your account. Now you'll see here that you're only seeing templates with the seller representation. That's because whatever you select here for your representation will then dictate the templates that are provided here. And what this is preventing is really for you having to go through and comb through maybe templates that might not pertain to this representation. Now we're just going to go ahead and select on this template here and then move forward by selecting create. Here you'll be able to see we've created our property file with this address that I like to keep. First tab that we're on is going to be our Forms tab. Again, the Forms tab will bring over any documents that live within that template that you made your selection for. And then you can go ahead and move forward by selecting the documents that you want to send out. So you'll see here that I selected this one and it led us through our next step. And you'll see here that it's automatically populating that information from our personal and our professional details. As you scroll down, you'll be able to see that these are already mapped and fillable exactly how they should be from your association. And once you're ready to go ahead and move forward, you'll select on prepare signature. Now, the first thing here it asks is to create an envelope. I do like to detail this out and I will show you why once we get to the slide. I'm going to go ahead and detail out what form we're sending out. If there's multiple forms, then you could do more of an overall name. But for this one, we're just going to select this. Underneath are the recipients. So Julia, our seller, we need her to sign. I'm the seller agent that's executing this. I just want to receive a copy. So we don't need to go ahead and put my signature in. And then we'll go ahead and select next to take us on over. Maria, can you elaborate on what you mean by legal descriptions?
So we've been having some problems with forms, properly uploading, which they now are to the different MLSs, but they are still not, if I'm going to write, an offer in the purchase agreement, it's not auto-populating the legal description of the property. So I'm just wondering if it's uploaded to SkySlope, if it's gonna auto-populate. In the past, they would automatically auto-populate all the information. So if we put the person's name, their phone number, their email, it would auto-populate when you go to the forms, all that information, so you don't have to go back in and retype it.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll see here that it's pulling Julia's information. It already has her where it's supposed to sign. And then you'll see it's went through and put in her name and everything throughout this document.
But I'm referencing like legal descriptions of properties. Will that auto-populate if you put an address in?
I'm not sure. I'd have to get back to you on that one. I guess, when you say legal descriptions, are you just referring to the property information?
Correct.
So it will pull over any field that is mappable. So here you'll be able to see kind of the different fields that have automatically been updated. But to get an exact answer, I'd have to check with my support team.
Okay.
Now, this brought us through to DigiSign. And again, this is our integrated digital signature tool that is integrated within our platform. And this is going to allow for you to add in any additional toolbar items that might be needed before you officially send this out to your client. So again, these are already mapped and fillable as they should be for this representation. But if there's maybe a text field that you want to add in or a signature you want to add in, you could do all of that before you officially send this out. This would just take place on the DigiSign portion. If you need to make any edits to your recipients, you could do so in DigiSign by selecting these three dots and then selecting on Edit Recipient. Here, let's say I wanted Amanda to review this. You could enter this in and then update the signing group. So let's say I don't even want Amanda to see this until Julia goes in and submits her signature. You can update this to reflect signing groups. That way you can indicate who's seen it first, who's seen it second. Once you're officially ready to send this out, you'll just go ahead and select send, and then this is how it will come across to your client. Again, this is a personal preference of mine, but I do like to go ahead and put in that property address. That way, when you get back your email, if you get back your email, it will automatically already tell you what property this belongs to. All right, and then here you can go ahead and detail out a customized message. And then select send. And then once we select send, you'll be able to see that the envelope has been sent. And then that then takes us on over to the envelopes tab. So we've gone from forms over to envelopes. And if you remember a few slides back, I said that I like to detail out what's in the envelope. And that is because if you send and execute separately different envelopes, you're going to have a bunch of different envelopes that are underneath this tab. In detailing it out, when you have all of those, we'll be able to go ahead and add in, or you'll be able to see what's included. So you'll be able to see here that this contains the commercial listing agreement. So instead of having to hover and select on here, we already know exactly what it pertains. Now, the next step that we're gonna do is, Dawn, yes, if you don't, if you're sending it to more than one more person, you don't have to put in a signing group. You could have it all underneath signing group 1, and it would then be sent to all individuals to sign. Once all signatures are completed, it will then, it will then go ahead and send you both copies saying that the document has been successfully signed. Now, our next step, we're going to go ahead and hop on in to the view that your agent or your client will see when they receive that email that you sent out through DigiSign. And you'll see here, my name will be replaced by yours, but there's that property address here. And when your client selects on that, they're going to see that their signature has been requested. And then you can also see that detailed message that you included. Now, for them to start, all they need to do is select Get Started. And it will always ask for them to submit their e-signature terms. And that's just because it is asking for their signature. Now they can go in and read word for word. Once they're ready to start signing, they'll just go ahead and select Start. And then it will walk them through each required field. Now, the first time that they select on that, it will ask for them to customize their signature and initial. So we'll just go to make that selection and then walk through each field that is required on their behalf. Now, what this is doing is it's ensuring that on their end, they're getting all their signatures completed, and on your end, you know that you would not receive a completed document unless all fields have been remarked as required. Now here you'll be able to see that they can download this there for their reference. And then when we hop on back on over to SkySlope, you'll see that status has been marked to completed. SkySlope started because of compliance, and we want to include as much compliance into everything that we have. So you'll see here these 3 dots on the far right-hand side, and you can download the envelope, but the one and rename it, print it. But the one thing that I really like to focus on is viewing the history. When you select on the view history of any envelope, it will show you all activity within that envelope. When it was created, when it was sent, if Julia viewed it, even when she signed it. So you really have the visibility to exactly where that file is at. I see some questions coming in through chat, some where, let's see. Will this be in the CBD or CB desk? I'll let them internally answer that. Now, the next step that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn this into a property file. So as I mentioned, this begins in SkySlope Forms, but we now want to navigate back on over to SkySlope Suite where we came from. And we want to go ahead and put this into a property file. So the next step would be dependent on who you are representing on the form side. Because if you were representing the buyer, you would select Create New and you would select on Transaction. Because Julia was a seller, we're going to go ahead and select on Create New Listing. And then it will ask us to walk through some of these questions here. So representation type, we'll go ahead and select that. Here, we're going to go ahead and select on the property. Now you'll be able to see here that we have that. So we'll go to make sure that information is here. And then the checklist. So again, the checklist is going to look different in your account as it's only going to pull over the checklist that you have in your actual account. And then it will ask for you to enter in some other information. Now, I would like for you to know that if this information was input into a file, it would, or into any of the documents on the form side, it would automatically populate into those fields. So you wouldn't really be having to go in and input in that information. You'd be able to go ahead and have that auto populate. Now let's see here, we'll go ahead and make that selection. And then select continue. Listing price, this information would automatically populate as well if it was entered in. Sales commission and the listing commission, we'll just go ahead and put in some numbers here. And then once that's done, you'll see that it created our listing file. So this is what the listing file looks like. First tab here is going to be the listing tab. This is going to contain all information pertaining to this specific listing. So pretty much what we just walked through when we were creating the listing, as well as what it grabbed over from the form side. Now, next is going to be the contacts tab. So any contact affiliated with this listing would be input to this section. And then the checklist tab. This is going to be your most frequently used tab. This is going to be where you're able to reference what's required on your behalf and what is if applicable. So looking at this listing file here, you already know based off of the status that these 3 documents here are required for you to turn in on behalf of your sales managers. Now, a few different ways to get these documents attached to your checklist. You can select attach and it will allow for you to attach a file from your desktop. It will also grab documents from this documents tab here. You also have the ability to drag something directly from your desktop into one of the required items here. Or one of my favorite features is this property specific email that you see here. With this property specific email, any listing file or transaction file that you create, it will automatically create this property specific email. And what you can do with this is CC it into your communication via email with your clients. Let's say that they're sending over attachments. If you CC this email, those PDFs will automatically store in your documents tab without you having to do anything. So let's show you what I mean by that. We're going to go ahead and visit a file that Julia sent us over earlier this week. And what we're going to do is we're going to select forward, put in that property specific email that we just got from SkySlope and press send. So what this is doing is rather than getting this from Julia, downloading it to my desktop, uploading it where it's intended to be, we want to take as much manual work out as we possibly can. And what we're able to do is get this exactly where it's intended to be. So navigating back on over to SkySlope, any PDF sent to this email here will automatically be stored underneath that Documents tab. So let's go ahead and navigate on over to our Documents tab. And you'll be able to see that the listing packet is already here waiting for us. Now, you'll also be able to see that the association form is also here for us. Now, that is the big benefit of having everything integrated into one file because it pulled over your forms and it is exactly where it's intended to be. Now, any questions on this before we move forward, which will answer Priscilla's question about splitting the files? Okay, then now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and grab this listing packet that we just sent over from Julia. And I want you to think of those large packets that you receive. Maybe you're printing them out, separating the pages, uploading it where it's intended to be. We have a split option here directly in SkySlope. So I've made my selection by selecting this box here. And now we're gonna go ahead and select split. Now, when I select split, there is an AI component to this. And the more that you start splitting apart documents, the more that the system will start to learn this. I'm going to select clear suggestions for this because we're going to break it down manually. But let's say here on the left-hand side, when you select on this box, it's pulling over your checklist. So to answer Priscilla's question, you can automatically split apart these documents into the checklist. I'm just going to go ahead and select on the agency agreement here. I know it starts from page 1 and ends on page 5. Add an additional row. And then we could go down to the listing agreement, make that selection, and then indicate what pages those are on. And you can go through and you can add as many as you would like. And then once you're done, you have 2 options. You can split this document. Maybe you're not quite ready to attach it to the checklist, but you can split it and it would be saved underneath the Documents tab. Now, you can also select Split and Assign, which is not only going to split apart the documents, save them in your Documents tab, but it's also going to assign how we broke these out. So we'll do that. We're going to go ahead and select Split and Assign. And you'll see here that we've split 3 documents and 3 were attached to your checklist. So let's navigate right back on over to the checklist. And you'll see that those once required statuses are now marking in review. And the in review status means that you've successfully submitted the document. It's now in the hands of your sales managers to either approve or deny. Anytime that your sales manager goes in and makes an edit, either rejects or approves an item, they will also send you over an email. So I'm going to show you what that email will look like. You'll be able to see who sent it. So Broker Bob here for our example. And when you select on in here, the hyperlink to the address is here. So you automatically know exactly what property that this checklist belongs to. And then you'll have a bird's eye view of the checklist. So here you're going to be able to see that the listing agreement has been marked as completed. We still need to get in a copy of the MLS printout because this is a required status. And then any time that your sales manager goes in and denies a document, it comes back to you as incomplete. They also have the ability to detail out why they marked it as incomplete though. So you'll see here, we already know exactly why this was marked incomplete. That's because it was missing the signature on page 2, which then means that we know we could go straight to the checklist and get that missing signature completed. Now, at any time, if you uploaded a document before you needed to, you can just select on this X here, select remove, and it will revert you right back on to the original status. At any time, you also have the ability to go ahead and withdraw the listing. And let's say you have a buyer, they're ready to go ahead and proceed. You could go ahead and convert this listing into a transaction simply by selecting accepted contract. You'll see that when we select on accepted contract, it's asking if you'd like to convert this into an accepted contract. And that's exactly what we're going to where we're going to head to next. We've gone through what the listing side looks like. Now we're going to go ahead and show you what a transaction file looks like. So here in our transaction file, you'll see it looks pretty similar to our listing file. Instead of the listing tab, it now shows a transaction tab, and this again houses all information pertaining to the specific transaction. We have our contacts tab, any contact affiliated with this, and the only new tab on the transaction side is going to be the commission tab. This is where you're going to be able to see the listing and the sales commission. And then next to that is going to be the checklist tab. The only difference is now instead of seeing listing documentation, you now see sales documentation. Keep in mind that when you create a listing, you get to pull one checklist for that listing. If that listing is then converted into a transaction, or if you just begin with the transaction, you get to pull one checklist for the transaction. So you get to pull one checklist for the listing, one checklist for the transaction. If this was converted from a listing over to a transaction, all of your listing documentation would remain on the checklist. So everything will always remain together in one file. To the right of that is going to be the Documents tab, which we covered. The one tab that I do want to cover in here, though, is going to be the Log tab. As I mentioned in forms, we started because of compliance reasons, and we want to make sure that we have that in everything that we can. And that brings us to the Log tab in either a listing or a transaction, and it will log any activity that takes place. If you made an edit, if you changed something, if you made a note, anything will be traceable into here. If an email was sent, you'll be able to see it's a hyperlink. And when you select on that, you'll be able to see exactly what it was in that email. Now, you can also go ahead and cancel this transaction. If it started as a listing and you canceled the transaction, it will ask if you'd like to convert it back to the original listing. So again, you don't have to worry about losing anything. And then anytime that you cancel a transaction, it's always sent to your sales manager to fully cancel out. But any questions on this? All right, then navigating back on over to SkySlope Suite. We've walked through creating transaction, creating a listing. The more listings you have, you could hop on into view listings and see all of them. The transactions, you could hop on in here and view all transactions. You'll see this more drop down, and this is going to allow for you to view access archives and canceled contracts. Now, nothing is ever deleted in SkySlope. You can simply just reorganize it. So rather than hopping on in here, maybe you archived a file a year ago and you need to access that file, rather than combing through all of the transactions that you have, you already know that you've archived it. So you could quickly hop on in here and locate that file quicker. Same thing with canceled contracts. Now, tasks and reminders, this is going to be a place where you can view any tasks that you've set for yourself. And then working documents, we're going to go ahead and select on in here. I like to think of working documents for your personal docs as a filing cabinet that only you have access to. So you can add folders, you can organize things, you can upload documents that you want readily available in here, and only you will have access to this. Now, if you send or if you need to send a document through DigiSign, and maybe this is a proactive outreach, you don't yet have a file created, but you need to send something for signature, you'll just scroll down and see the DigiSign icon here and select Create New Envelope, No Property. What this will then allow for you to do is, let's say you have a document on your desktop, you could send it out through here and get their signature submitted. Now, you might be wondering, well, if I don't have a file created and I send something out for signature, where would that land? And that would land in your working documents tab underneath that personal documents tab. Now, let's say you're proactive and then a few months later you create your file. All you need to do is access the document, select on it here, and then select Assign. By selecting Assign, it's going to show you all of your transaction files or listing files, and you could quickly just assign it in there. Now, the last thing that I'd like to cover is going to be up in the upper right-hand corner of SkySlope Suite, My Account. When you navigate on over to My Account, this is where you're going to be able to edit any of your personal information. So if your email changes, your phone number changes, you'll be able to see that here. And then the other thing is notifications. This is a great way for you to customize how you want to be notified. So let's say email me if a listing passes the expiration date. You can toggle that on. Always make sure that you select save. And then moving forward, it's always going to send you an email confirming that this has passed the expiration date. It's a really great way for you guys to stay up to date with all of the files that you have. However, that covers really everything that I wanted to cover in our demo today. As mentioned a few times, always feel confident with reaching out to our support page or our support team. They work around the clock, so if you're stuck on something and you want immediate assistance, always feel the support of our support team. But I'll go ahead and leave the last few minutes here for any last minute questions if you want to unmute yourselves or put that into the chat.
So I have a quick question. It doesn't look like I just got in as we were you're doing this. So it doesn't look like our forms are uploaded yet from the CBP offices, but do you know when they will be?
So they are. Make sure again that your regions are set up in your profile.
Mine are, and it just says broker library. It doesn't show anything yet. It says 0 forms.
Okay. I'll have to speak with your admin team.
Okay.
What's your email, just so I have it?
Mine is Maria kopicki.realtor@gmail.com.
Can you throw it in the chat, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, Tara, I mean, SkySlope's purpose is to have everything done electronically. So we are trying to obviously push you through that.
I'm noticing as part of the import from MLS section, it seems to be pulling the basic property address in for the property. Is there a way you can have it also pull in on our Coldwell Banker professional purchase agreement? Is there a way for you to have it pull in the tax ID section and the legal description as well?
I can ask, but I don't believe so.
Okay.
Tax ID to be pulled in through the MLS, correct?
Yeah, that is tied. Those are displayed in Real Comp, our local MLS. So if there is a way to do that like it's doing for the property address, that would be awesome. But just wanted to inquire. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. If you could just confirm the MLS that you're referring to.
Real Comp.
Real Comp. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make sure to see, with the MLS, it really only pulls over the map and fillable fields that we have. But I already sent a question over to my MLS team about the tax ID, and I will let your admin team know.
Hi,
All
and just
right,
to
and then it looks like
reiterate
Amanda.
why it's so important, because for the tax ID, it's usually so long, and a lot of them don't allow you to copy and paste it, because then it's too big. Any of our other forms, like transaction desk, it'll put it right in the description, the size that it needs to be. So perfect example, I had one that I had to use an addendum to add onto because I couldn't get it to populate and fit with one of our forms. So it is a huge deal to make it. We're trying to learn something new if we're all going to do this or whoever. So to try to make it as easy as possible on us would be great.
Okay, awesome. All right, then. If nobody else has any other questions, I will let you go. And then I will get back I'll get back to your admin team regarding the tax ID and the MLS answer. Yes, Yvette, there will be enough space there for you. But, all right, well, I hope you all enjoyed today's training. Please, again, I know I already mentioned it a few times, feel the support of our support team. I can let you know, I still reach out to them every single day. So they're super knowledgeable, they're readily available, and they're here to assist you whenever you need. But I appreciate your time, and we look forward to having you all become successful users here within SkySlope. Thank you all so much.